Hello everybody, welcome to Farscape Rewatch, episode 15. I am Cartwheel Hats and joining me is Red Nightmare.
Ooh!
Yeah, and yep, episode 15, and the title of this one is called, well, it's kind of a big spoiler, but it's in the title. It's Durka Returns.
One of those moments where we know that they've just kept using the working titles.
Yeah.
Like,
it does kind of give things away, but yes. So you can figure out, who's gonna show up in this episode.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he does show up like in the first 2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So there isn't really much of a played out plot or anything. It's
No.
like, oh, hey, what's up? How you doing?
It's not that bad.
And so we've just, if you remember, we've just come off Jeremiah Crichton we had last week, which was not a good episode.
No, that wasn't great.
So hopefully this one will be better and.
Spoilers it is!
Yeah! Good. Alright, so let's kick things off, and we start off with something that's becoming something of a recurring theme, in that Moya is having trouble starbursting.
Yeah.
Basically, there's a bit of turbulence.
Oh, this is your captain speaking. You will be experiencing minor starburst turbulence. We hope gravity doesn't give out this time.
That's it. Yeah. And they come out of starburst with a bit of a shake, and like, oh no.
Actually, I want to point something out. One of the very first shots we see is of Rigel's amulet that usually hangs around his neck, which is a very beautiful minor touch here. It's the amulet that Durka stole from him and that he got back on the Albinian.
Ah, very
minor, but I really
nice.
like that. It's a light touch.
It's also not contrived because I think Rigel is in bed at this point. Like he's got like his pajamas on or whatever.
Yeah, it's logical that he's not wearing it right now.
Yeah, which is nice. But yeah, like everyone else is running around the ship and doing the old side to side, like, whoa, no, the ship is shaking. So they come out of starburst right in the path of another ship.
Oops.
Because Moya's sensors are also not working properly, so she didn't see it coming. And then they collide with the ship.
Basically, it bounces off Moya because it's a far smaller ship.
Yeah, and they're like, okay, is Moya okay? No, Moya's fine. And Zan and Crichton are in command at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, should we just, keep going? And then Pilot and Moya are like, we're bringing the ship aboard. And it's like, is that a good idea? We don't know who these people are.
We haven't had the best experience with visitors. I like that John's like, isn't there anything we can, and just Pilot cuts him off, no. Like a deadpan no.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a discussion, we are just doing this. Sorry.
Yeah, because Pilot and Moya's like, yeah, that's our bad. We done goofed.
Yeah.
So we'll help these people because this is entirely our fault.
Yeah, I like that about the Moya and Pilot.
Yeah, and so they bring the ship on board, and it's long and thin, with a round end and 3 fins coming off from that.
Yeah, I mean, it looks a bit like I just haven't been watching Movie Bob's Really That Good yesterday. It's a bit like the claws from Dr. Octopus.
Oh yeah.
Spider-Man, only between the 3 grapple bits, there's a thick center of the ship. And those 3 things extend from the back forward. Yeah,
it's quite a nice design. And so some people come out of it. Well, a person comes out of it, and astute viewers will already know who this is.
Mm-hmm.
He has an eye patch over one eye. He's a Sebastian man and has long white hair. And yeah, he's saying, everything's fine. Don't worry. The massive energy weapon that you detected on board our ship is powered down. Because Zan runs in saying, we found a big weapon. It's like,
don't worry, it's powered down. We're not doing anything. And then Rigel just arrives on the scene, half asleep. He hasn't even really looked at the person. And then that person's like, well, if you don't mind, I will tell my companions that it's safe to come out. And Rigel recognizes the voice. And just look of sheer terror on his face, like,
oh no.
What? You were dead.
Yeah.
I saw your corpse.
Yeah, because he recognizes him as Durka, and which episode was it? It was PK Tech Girl, where we saw what we thought was Durka's corpse with the scar Like it was the wizened, like zombified, well, like mummified corpse, which had a scar over one eye, and
a gun in his hand.
Yeah, and it made it look like he'd taken his own life. So, what the hell's going on here? How is this man alive?
And Rigel basically also attacks him. Like, he spits in his face, he tries to bite him in the neck, and John has a lot of trouble holding him back. Like,
yeah. Because
you're way off base. This can't be Durka. You found his corpse. And even if it wasn't his corpse, he should have been dead like 50 years ago from old age.
Yeah, exactly. Because on the Zelbinian was like 100 cycles ago, they say.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the rest of the crew aren't buying it because of the reasons, those reasons. But the other thing is that the man who looks like Durka seems to be very relaxed and zoned out.
Except for the moment Rigel growls at him.
Yeah, then he's like...
At that point, there's a look of malice in his eyes, and I'm like, oh, we might have to come back to that later.
Yeah, but actually, the man says, no, Rigel is right. I am Durka.
Dun dun dun.
Titles. Like, you always want to go to titles on the dramatic beat, I feel.
Yes, that was perfect timing for that.
And when I was watching this, like we said a minute ago, it's like I was just watching it and think, oh, okay, so we're just gonna get right down to it then. All right,
yeah,
sure,
okay.
yep, okay, yeah, here he is. Here's Durka.
Nice.
No messing about saying, no, Durka, I don't know who that is. And it's like, nope, that's Durka. Oh, okay then. Oh, all right, okay, sure.
Sounds good.
And so we come back from titles, and Rigel is still trying to attack Durka. And then Aaron is asking, like, how come you're not dead of old age? Because of how long ago it was. And then some more people step out. Or another person steps out, rather. Who is called Salis. And he's an alien. He's not Sebastian. He is Nabari.
Mm-hmm.
Who are a new species we haven't seen before.
No, and he's just as Zan, he's completely covered in makeup, but in a far more pale blue, more grayish even.
Well,
almost, yeah.
So here's the thing, like, the Nabari are grey. This is actually a bit behind the scenes, but the reason they're blue is simply just because of the way the stage light or the set lighting works. Their makeup is actually entirely grey.
Oh, cool.
So it's just the lighting and like the colour balance of the shot that makes them look slightly blue.
I like the hint of blue there.
Yeah.
Personally.
But yeah, you would have to have a very neutral lighting for it to actually look grey, and because it's not like that, they actually look a little bit blue. And he comes out and he's wearing sort of like plain dark robes with like some grey shoulder parts, and he's very also similar to Durka. He's very sort of hello, I am. He's very mellow, and like he says, Durka, don't worry about Durka. He's fine. He's incapable of harm. Now.
Yeah, he's been corrected. So, okay, we all know where this is going, right?
Yeah, it's like, oh, I see.
I know this trope.
Yeah, he's been kind of mind-wiped? I don't know. They explain it a bit more later, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to in the end.
But Salis says that the ship they're in, they're due to rendezvous with another ship in this quadrant, and until then they'll need food and quarters.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. Then Durka asks, are there any containment cells? Because they're actually transporting a dangerous criminal. And, well, Moya used to be a prison ship. Anyway.
Oh, well, isn't that useful? And I also like that at some point Rigel leaves and he's like, I hope he doesn't end up being in trouble. He seems to be holding a grudge. It's like, yeah, it tends to happen if you torture people. And I like that Salis at that point, like, well, you would know about that, being a Sebastian. No, I'm human. I'm like, damn it, John! Stop telling everybody you're special. This can only get you into trouble.
There's that, but I think he also doesn't want to be associated with being Sebastian and being a peacekeeper.
Okay, actually, fair point.
He's like, no, I'm not a peacekeeper. I keep telling you. I'm human. You've probably never heard of it.
It's very on the ground right now.
But yeah, they're transporting a dangerous criminal, and it's a female Nabari, and
Hi, Cheyenne.
And it's Gianna. Hello.
Gianna, sorry.
Yeah, and it's Gianna, and yeah, because this is a Rewatch podcast, I know exactly where this is going. So I'm like, hey, it's Chiana.
I knew
what's
enough
up?
to be like, oh, this is a relevant episode.
Yes, it is. And we see Chiana, who is played by actress Gigi Edgley, and
she's chewing the scenery in this one. Holy crap, she's a good actress.
Oh yeah, like really going ham on, on all the acting and so on. Yeah. Which is in stark contrast to Salis, actually, who's very just boring. he's just like, I have no emotion in my voice.
Yeah, he very, very level voice. No defining characteristics aside from the two weird things on his head, two metal pieces on his forehead.
Yeah, metal circles on his temple.
Yeah,
on his right temple.
Yes, his right temple.
Yeah. And so Chiana has her hands tied behind her back, and she has a collar around her neck as well. And they take and put her in a cell, and John's there, putting her in. And he asks Salis, like, okay, what crime did she commit? And Salis says that nothing you should concern yourself with, which is already a bad sign.
I mean, my reaction would have been like, look, if you're going to put her in one of our cells, I'd like at least to know why we're putting her in one of our cells.
Also,
thank you very much.
Also, nobody good has ever said, don't worry about what this person is imprisoned for.
That is true.
Obviously, we know who's going to come out of this on top, but it's really weird that he's like, no, I'm not going to tell you what she's in prison for. Yep. I'm going to give off I'm sort of a bad guy vibe.
I am evil.
And so Dargo shows Durka and Salis to their quarters, and they're asking how long till the ship gets repaired, and the DRDs are working on it, and all that stuff. Then Chiana starts begging for Crichton's help. She wants because she says, you wouldn't consider what I did a crime. I want amnesty, and
I like that Salis is like, no, but we do.
He seems to be going for the sort of like the Prime Directive kind of thing of like, this isn't your jurisdiction. This is our crime. Don't put your values on us.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he touches two fingers to his temple, and then Chiana collapses in pain.
And that's the point where John's like, okay, maybe because he keeps doing that a little bit too long for John's liking.
Yeah, it's like maybe it is actually relevant what she's in for, and does the punishment fit the crime, and
exactly, and
what are you up to here? We get a further twist on how the Nabari operate, because Zan is talking with Salis and trying to figure out like how come Durka is A, alive, and B, how is he peaceful and not an evil torturing peacekeeper anymore.
Yeah.
And they said they eliminated the evil parts of his mind with a process called mental cleansing.
Yeah.
And to do that, they have to put the subject in cryogenic suspension. So that's why he's
usually takes about 100 cycles, so that's why he's about as old as he was when the Sylvanian fell.
Mm-hmm. And it's just like, okay, so you went into his mind and just messed around in there.
Yeah. I like that Zan then asks and like, how do the subjects experience this? And then Salis responds with, he didn't mind asking him. I'm like, answer the fucking question, Salis.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That was not the question.
Yeah, the people who have it done to them appreciate it.
Yeah, at the end. Yeah,
afterwards. Yeah, because they appreciate it afterwards because you've fucked with their head so much that to make them, obedient and fall in line. Of course, they're going to appreciate it.
Yeah, you build that in at the end, of course.
That's called brainwashing.
Yeah.
And he says, we would have saved everyone on the Zelbinian, but the crew refused to surrender. Like, well, that does sound like something peacekeepers would do.
Yeah, but Durka did.
Yeah, apparently.
Huh.
Then we have there's actually an interesting thing here that Dargo says to Salis. Is like, so you clearly defeated the Zelbinian. That's the reason the Zelbinian is floating in space as they found it. Mm-hmm. How many warships did that take? Oh, we don't have warships.
Just one of our standard vessels engaged it.
Yeah, he says one of the standard host vessels, like the one coming for them now.
Yeah, I'm like, one. Holy crap! Are these people the culture?
That's what I thought as well. It's like they're kind of like the flip side of the culture, because the culture has the exact opposite approach to behavior. They're like, do what you want. We don't really care.
For the people who don't know, we're talking about the culture, race.
Well, the culture,
culture from the Ian M. Banks series of books.
Ian M. Banks, yeah.
Ian M. Banks, sorry.
Yeah, from the culture novels. Yeah, basically they have the culture do have warships, but also their regular ships can just fuck you up very easily.
Yes, definitely.
But whereas the culture is all about freedom of expression, and there aren't really many laws and rules, the Nabari seem to be just very much, no, you must conform, obey, conform, obey.
Yeah,
they're literally painted grey. Like,
I have no strong opinions one way or the other.
What makes a man turn neutral? Kif. Lust for power, or a hard horn with a heart full of neutrality.
Sir, you're an idiot.
But they're not really neutral. They have their own set of views and rules on the world, which they impose very heavily on everyone.
Yep, as we find out later. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think this is the scene where we have Rigel is in his quarters. We got to Rigel in his quarters. He's got a little knife. He's got a shiv, basically.
Yeah.
And it's very clear that he's planning to go, shiv Durka between the ribs with it. And Eren sees this and is like, don't, no.
No, don't keep chasing this childish vendetta. And I'm like, excuse me? Childish vendetta?
He was tortured
for several cycles, probably several dozen cycles.
Yeah.
Don't you lecture me on this, Eren.
And we've only just met Durka again. You don't know what's going on here.
It's not a childish vendetta. Get out.
I mean, yeah. So he's like, put it away. And so she takes the knife off him, but Rigel is still like, no, I'm gonna. Mm-hmm. And Eren goes to see Durka, and she's, I don't know, it's weird because
she's fangirling over him.
She is, which is a little bit odd. I guess it makes sense because she was taught all about him at Peacekeeper School, and that he was a legend, and
it'd probably be something like If I Ever Met Sun Tzu.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Although Rigel says something to Eren, which is that he can't be all that great because, from the looks of things, he faked his own death
and ran
away. And so this is actually in the scene before where they're in Rigel's quarters, and Eren doesn't really believe him. He's like, no, Durka wouldn't do that. He's peacekeeper legend, and and then she goes and talks to him, and he's actually very self-effacing. He's like, I'm not a legend. I'm ashamed of what I did. I don't take pleasure in it, and I did actually run away and fake my death.
It's like, and Eren is clearly distraught at this. Your legend just fell off his pedestal hard, and I like that Durka's like, I've done far worse in my time.
Yeah. Hey, never meet your heroes.
Yeah. Just a picture, as Troy Barnes said. Just a picture.
Sad phrases to love me. But yeah, Durka is still acting kind of odd. He's like, the Nabari showed me a better way, and I'm much better now. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Isekai.
And we go back to Chiana, who's obviously still in her cell, and Crichton's brought her some food cubes, which he's basically, she still has her hands tied behind her back, and he's feeding her them through not really the bars, but through the holes in the door. Mm-hmm. And he's basically trying to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
Why are they worried about you? Because they've got you restrained and have this collar on you. If you were just a normal prisoner, they would probably just have your hands tied or something. And she says she doesn't respect authority, and she stole food when she was hungry, stowed away, defended herself when necessary.
Yeah, and basically I think she just did what she wanted to do, not what they wanted her to do.
Yeah, which, that seems like it would be a big deal to people with as much of a stick up their ass as the Nabari.
Yep. It's
a little bit tropey, but it's actually fine because it's not dwelled on too much, because it is like she's the free spirit in the oppressive regime.
Yes.
Basically, she's come out of a what's the word? Like a teen sci-fi novel.
Dystopia.
Yeah, dystopia. That's the word. Yeah, like a sci-fi dystopia kind of thing.
She came straight out of The Giver or something.
Yeah, something like that. Exactly. By the way, shout out to Fight the Future podcast if you want to hear some very knowledgeable people and entertaining people talk about those kind of things. You can find that on learningreadyrun.com. Just give a quick shout out to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? But yeah, she does feel. It does feel like she's leapt right out of one of those novels or films or whatever.
I mean, it works fine.
Yeah, it works fine. It works fine.
Sometimes these tropes are just perfect for what you want to do, and in this case, I think it works perfectly.
Oh yeah, it does. I just recognized it as like that sounds very similar to something like that. But yeah, among her people, you conform, you do what, but you don't do what she did, and that's why she has the collar. And when they get back to Nabari Prime or whatever it is, she'll undergo mental cleansing, and they think they're doing you a favor, but she'd rather be dead.
Yeah, she gets really upset about that, actually.
Well, yeah.
Starts kicking the door and just throwing a fit.
Because it's basically kind of like losing your identity to an extent.
It reminds me of one of the things that I always come back to, and that especially Mass Effect 2 asked me about, which is, would you rather die free or live a life that is not your own?
Yeah. And Chiana would much rather die free, so...
Or even better, not with a mind your own.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's interesting, because as a ship of escaped criminals, I think certainly Crichton seems to understand Chiana. He understands her argument from the looks of things, but still doesn't really trust her.
No.
He's like, I can understand that, but I'm not about to trust you straight away.
Exactly.
Which is smart. So he goes to talk to Durka about the cleansing and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I think as Chiana's throwing a fit, he goes into her cell and calm her down, and I think that scene is relevant later on.
Oh, right, yeah, because...
I think she manages to grab something from him by the looks of her face.
Yeah, right, because I think she says, like, he's feeding her through the door, and she's like, this is ridiculous, I'm not going to eat this way, and then she actually starts, freaking out, and John goes in to calm her down.
I'm like, come on, John, you know how this works.
I'll be honest, I was expecting her to actually escape then. I was expecting her to, somehow knock John to the ground and then run. Like, I was expecting that to be a ploy, so I was a little bit surprised that it wasn't, but it seems like it might have been a longer-term thing. But then that's when then Crichton goes to talk to Durka about the cleansing and, how does it work and then a thing happens.
I also like an analogy he puts here, because John's like, isn't that like just wiping your mind? How is that not mind control, brainwashing?
Yeah.
Not really, or painful. And he says, well, it's like the comparison between a knife attack and surgery, which I'm like, okay, I get that. Both use the same tool, but the outcome is different.
Yeah, and I mean, usually for surgery you have anesthetic, but
I mean, it wasn't cryostasis.
Yeah, exactly.
That might have been anesthetic.
I would assume so. And then Samus turns up.
Holy crap, you're right.
That's what I thought. I was like, there's a ball rolling along the ground that, for all the world, looks like Samus's morph ball. Like, it has the two hemispheres that are slightly separated.
Yeah, and they are pale metal, but yeah.
Except that what it actually is a bomb.
Yes, it's a bomb that lands close to John and Durka. And I like that this sentence I just mentioned is right before John jumps on him to Durka to get him away from the bomb.
Get down, Mr. President. And yeah, so that happened, and I mean, I think we know we can probably figure out who sent that.
There's two suspects, and one of them arrives at the scene just as the bomb has gone off. So we can pretty conclusively say that was Rigel.
Yeah. Fun fact, by the way, bit behind the scenes here. That bomb that Rigel set off, or the special effect for that, it actually did burn Ben Browder for real.
Oh no!
Yeah, because of the way the shot was framed, I think. Like, he was actually obscured by flame, and he was like kind of smoking from from his rear. Like, basically, it caught him right on the back, I think Ben Browder said, like, he said it was worth it because at least he could give a real look of fear. Oh, okay.
I don't even know if they used a shot for that one. Look of fear.
Yeah, but it was just like, apparently it did. That's not the sort of shot you do twice if you can help it.
No, that is true.
But I think that it apparently did actually burn him. But it's like, no, it's fine, worth it. Worth it.
Props to Ben Browder on that.
Yeah, well done. But yes, it was Rigel. He turns up and Crichton just. This is the thing, is like Rigel hovers in, like hovering over Durka.
Yeah.
And he thinks like he's looking down at him with disgust, and then Durka just reaches out and starts choking him.
Yeah, and with the most, an eye full of hate.
Yeah.
One that we see.
And like we said earlier that Chiana, or Gigi Edgley as Chiana, does a great job in this episode, but so does David Wheeler, is the actor who plays Durka, and
yeah,
he does a fantastic job as well.
I love Durka as a bad guy.
Yeah, and this is when we start to see him as a bad guy because he's like choking him out, and I think he
passes out quickly after because he just doesn't have the energy. Yeah,
and then Crichton comes to. And then starts strangling Rigel.
I was going to say, they both have the exact same response to Rigel. It's not exactly Durka's... I would blame Durka for choking out Rigel because it's also Crichton's first response.
Yeah. And Rigel, like... I understand, like, you want to kill Durka, but, like, a bomb. Like...
John's in the room.
Well, John's in the room inside Moya. Like, you're hurting... Like, his initial plan was just to stab him, which wouldn't have hurt anyone else. But a bomb? Seriously? Then we find out, like, Dargo is going through, like, the bomb components. He's like, yeah, Rigel actually messed this up. Like, if he got the mixture right, there would be a much, much larger hole. And I think he says to John, it's like, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Yeah. And John's actually, at this point, choking down Rigel and being like, I'm completely prepared to throw him off the ship right now. Like,
yeah,
especially after being bombed by him, I can imagine him being like, okay, open the airlock, he's going out.
Listen, after everything Rigel has done, it's not entirely surprising.
No. The others bring him to reason, and Dargo's like, okay, screw this. I like that Durka now gets up, and he's like, look, he's clearly upset by my appearance. I will confine myself to locations that don't involve him, and Dargo's like, no, he's going in a cell.
Yeah, we have a procedure for, like, this isn't the first time. Rigel, get in your room. Go to your room.
Go to your room, young man.
I think they actually tie him up in his cell, don't they? Or in his room, yeah. It's just like, yeah, that seems wise. Oh, also, Salis is talking to Zan, and he says that when the other ship gets here, we want Rigel turned over to us.
And Zan's like, to hell you don't. You're not getting him.
Because Salis says, he has flaws in his character that we can correct. And Zan is... this whole time, Zan has been very uncomfortable with the thought of the mental cleansing. In fact, at some point, Salis says, you have parts of
scene, actually,
parts of yourself that could benefit from mental cleansing. And she's just like, the fuck did you just say?
She just gives him a look.
Yeah.
Like, say that again, I'll choke you out. The only thing he says in response is, my point exactly.
Yeah, she's very disturbed by the notion of mental cleansing, and even towards Rigel, and she says, like, for all his faults, he doesn't deserve that.
No. I'm actually surprised by this, because I would have expected Zan, of all people, to be the one who is for this, because she also has a dark side she suppresses. She pushes away. I would have expected her to be like, can you just take that out completely?
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I think
this also might be because she has been in contact with that side of her recently, and she might be like, okay, I know I know this side of me. She's also letting it out a bit more, I feel.
Yeah,
she's been a bit more self-serving or more harsh than normal. Because the Zan we meet at the start of the series would have, without a question, pulled that ship aboard. She wouldn't have questioned if they should have helped them or not.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, so she seems to be more in touch with that side of her, and so yeah, probably less willing to have it excised completely.
I think that's it.
I think what Zen seems to be approaching is like the kind of approach where to not just pretend it doesn't exist, to accept it as part of you and deal with it that way. Yeah. But yeah, it does actually show a change from, like you said, from Zan earlier on in the series already. And so this is when Chiana actually manages to escape.
Not before Salas visits her after the bombing.
Yeah.
This scene is very important.
Oh, right. I have things a little bit mixed up. Go ahead.
Salas goes to her and he's like, a bomb going off, and my first thought was you. But he sees that currently she's just clearly locked up. Her shackles are still tight. Her collar is still on. And she couldn't have done it. And they have a discussion about how she went out, she traveled, she did her own things. Yeah. And she's like, wouldn't you want to do that? And Salas is like, I already traveled, but at your age, I was trying to fit in instead of stand out. And I'm like, as a Magic player, this is basically black and white arguing with each other.
I guess
Salas is white here and Chiana's black.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Freedom of spirit on Chiana's side and the desire for order on Salas's side. The needs of the many, the needs of the few, or the needs of the individual.
I mean, not to digress entirely into Magic Color Pie talk in the Farscape podcast, but I know Chiana seems a little bit red actually with that kind of free spirit.
Also true.
Yeah, she's more like a Chandra than a Liliana.
Okay,
although a little bit of both, really.
Yeah, we'll leave that at the wayside.
Like I said, let's not get too far into that. But
another thing she says, and this actually, I was like, pardon? Because she's basically flirting with him.
Yeah.
A bit, and she says, I can see it in your eyes, you want to rub your hands around me again. It's the mention of again that triggered me.
Yeah,
like excuse me, what has he been doing? What is their history? Has he been improper with her during her capture?
Yeah, maybe he had. I mean,
do they have a history outside of that?
I don't know. We don't find out, but yeah, that's implied one way or the other. It's like, oh, okay.
Nice little detail. It's just one word and never mentioned again, but it opens up a whole can of worms.
Well, it does a great job of setting up of implying a lot of backstory and giving them both more character. Just that little interaction and she's kind of like looking at him like alluringly, and then he just like boop touches the things on his forehead, and he's like, down I go.
The way we make it sound, it's a lot more painful than that.
It's actually she looks to be in a lot of pain.
She's screaming.
Oh god, yeah, it looks really horrible, and like Salas is just looking on with blank expression on his face, just like. And so. A bit later on, after the bomb has gone off and all the other stuff, after a bit more time, Chiana does actually manage to escape.
Yes.
Because she has some implements, I think, from I think it was like the food cube tray, or
Yeah, she unlocks her arms and then she's using the food cube tray as a mirror so she can work on the collar.
Yeah. It's actually,
I think, a fork or something.
Yeah, exactly. And manages to pop the collar off, which it's basically got red lights on it, and when it pops off, it goes green.
Yeah, and it makes a noise, and I was like, was that the alarm going off?
I mean, probably.
Apparently it wasn't.
And so she makes her way to Rigel's quarters, hacks the door, and gets in. And Rigel is tied up, and she kind of like gets onto Rigel's bed and is sort of straddling over him like the tiny little frog man tied up. And he wants to be free to kill Durka. He wants to be released, basically.
Yeah.
And she wants to get off the ship, so we can work something out, maybe.
Also, at this point, she's lost the black cloak she was wearing.
Yes.
And we see that she is, pants and, it seems like a unitard, maybe, even?
There is like a gap between,
okay.
Yeah.
Right, so she's wearing a long sleeve top and pants and some fur on her shoulders, I think?
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Really interesting outfit.
Yeah, actually, let's just take one quick moment here to talk about like Chiana's design, because we said like the Nabari have grey skin and darker grey lips, and Salas has black hair. Chiana has white hair, or silver hair rather.
Yeah, with white streaks in there.
It's relatively short, cropped, and in fact, her design is very reminiscent, deliberately, I think I'm right in saying, of. If anyone's seen Blade Runner, Pris from Blade Runner, who is one of the replicants. It's the pale skin, the white or grey makeup, the short cropped hair that's sort of silvery.
It's also very... It's all over the place. It hangs over her eyes half the time, which also like, you rarely see on TV because you want to see the character's eyes, but the actress is getting away with a lot without actually having to show her eyes.
And Pris as a character is actually very, I guess the right word is very sexual. Mm-hmm. And which kind of is also Chiana's thing as well.
Yes.
She seems
I think sensual would be the better word.
Yeah, that's probably a better way of putting it. Yeah, it's, as with most of these things, it's a bit of both. It's kind of, we start to see that a bit more because we saw her kind of looking at Salis and trying to be like, hey, do you want to again? And this time she's kind of straddled over Rigel, even though Rigel is a tiny frogman.
Yeah.
But yeah, like her design is very much reminiscent of Pris from Blade Runner, and
it really works. It really complements the acting of the actress.
Yes, it definitely does. So yeah, she's trying to Rigel's trying to make a case for himself, basically.
Yeah. She's convince me.
Yeah, convince me to let you go. And she's like, I could give you the door codes. It's like, I can just hack the doors. And so he eventually says, well, I can create a diversion because they're going to want to chase me, and then you can get to the shuttle or whatever and get out of there. And she's like, this sounds good. Sounds good. Mm-hmm. And so she unties him, and as soon as she unties his hands, he just grabs his comm and is like, Chiana's escaped, she's in my room.
And she puts the pillow back over his face.
Basically proving that you should never, ever trust
I'm actually surprised he did that, because I would have thought him being like, look, I can actually get something out of this alliance, so let's just do this. I guess he thought working with Chiana wasn't a long-term solution.
Yeah, maybe.
Would get him into more trouble at the end.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to work with any of the Nabari from the sounds of things.
That might also be the case. He might also just be incredibly racist.
I mean, from the looks of things, that they took in Durka, which doesn't look good for him.
Fair.
Anyway, so everyone is now out looking for Chiana. Durka goes to Eren, and he says that Chiana's capable of anything. So
well, she didn't kill Rigel.
Yeah, so like we're told. I mean, a lot of it is we're told by the Nabari and by Durka that Chiana is dangerous and she's capable of anything. We've seen her escape from her cell, but beyond that, not really.
I mean, she could have easily just smothered Rigel, been done with it. That would have probably been faster than tying him up again, throwing him in a corner and rags over his face. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
And in this case, she could actually tell the others what she was planning. So
yeah. Then we cut to a scene of Salis in one of the corridors, and Salis is dead.
Yeah, he's been stabbed.
He's been stabbed, and there's blood coming from his corpse. It's blue, actually. Apparently, Nabari bleed blue. So there you go. That's fun. It's very deliberately set up after Chiana is capable of anything. Oh look, Salis is dead. Of course, everyone is they're scouring the ship. Eren and Rigel go to command. And they see Pilot. Pilot comes on the comms and is like, Chiana's very good at staying hidden.
Because I can't find her.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that, he can't find her with all of Moya's systems at his disposal. But whatever.
She's that good.
Yeah.
I mean, they couldn't find Crichton when he was hiding from Dargo either.
That's true. That's true. Then Durka turns up and says, is Salis dead? Yeah. And
he's grieving.
Yeah, he's very distressed by this. Distressed by the fact that Salis is dead from the looks of things. And Eren walks up to him and... okay. So the episode is called Durka Returns. And at the...
Guess who's back?
Exactly, because at the beginning of the episode, oh hey, Durka's back. And now it's no, Durka's back.
The actual Durka is back. So he grabs Eren's rifle, kicks Rigel in the face.
Basically, he just goes to town on both of them.
Yeah, and he slams Eren to the floor. She tries to grab for her other gun, her pistol. He kicks that out of her hands and just knocks her out with a punch to the face.
Yep, and oh god, and so Crichton tries to contact Dargo. Durka just basically has taken one of the control panels and is cutting all the wires or whatever. And he's
doing a specific Dargo.
Yes, and he takes control of the comms, and he's now tied up Rigel, And he says that Rigel undid the mental cleansing.
Yeah, ironically.
And it's like, yeah, because I guess Rigel brought it all up again and reminded him so much of it, and say, I guess the mental cleansing isn't 100% effective then.
So I'm actually curious, at which point Rigel did that. Because my theory would be at the very beginning of the episode when he saw Rigel.
What I think it was...
The bomb?
I think it was the bomb, because immediately after that is when he starts choking out Rigel.
Mm-hmm. But the other part is that the look of disgust that he gives Rigel at the beginning made me think, wait, I think this started way earlier than the episode is letting on.
Okay, how about this? It was there, but it was being suppressed by the mental cleansing until the bomb put him into like a state of shock, basically, and that triggered the resurgence.
Okay, that I can live with that one.
Yeah.
Meet at the middle. I appreciate doing business with you.
Good job. Well done. Carry on. And yeah, but now that Durka's back, he's like a ruthlessly efficient peacekeeper, psychopath, horrible, nasty person. And so now Eren has come too, and he's talking to her and says, when the Nabari mental cleansing was working, he did actually genuinely feel guilty. Like, he wasn't faking this whole time. It was. Or
he was faking this part of the story.
Least,
but yeah,
it was the real deal, and he did feel guilty. But now he can't remember. He can't think of why.
No.
And then I love this, by the way. Like, Eren says, like, you murdered Salis, didn't you? And Durka is walking away from her at this point.
Yeah.
And then we cut to a close up of him, like, just turning his head and giving her a look, which is a superb kind of like evil villain look of like.
Yeah, but he doesn't say yes or no.
No, and then he just looks at Eren and then just turns away again. It's like, oh, all right.
That didn't tell us anything.
Yeah.
Because it could have been. You can interpret that look in but two ways, which I like, and we'll see that at the end of the episode.
Yeah, and so he gets on the comms and says, "I'm in complete control of Moya, and if you don't leave Moya, you will all die."
Yeah.
And then Eren provokes him again, saying he murdered assassins. He just hits her. It's like, yeah, no, he's not a nice man.
Yeah, I mean, basically, she says, he's like, finally you can see a legend at work. She's like, no, I take that back. You're a fucking coward.
Yeah, you're pathetic, and you're. Yeah.
You ran. You faked your own death. And he's like, well, the crew of the Selbinian is dead. I am not.
Yeah. The needs of the one, etc., etc., etc. With everyone else, everyone is still was still sort of in corridors looking for people, so they're slightly trapped where they are. Crichton is running along the corridor, and doors keep closing in front of him. For some reason, the shots of John running in the corridor are in this weird kind of slow-mo.
Yeah, and there's also later the point where he spots Chiana or something, but then suddenly the audio is muted for a large part. It's really weird. There's some really weird decisions on where I can't figure out why they're doing that.
Yeah,
there's nothing special happening in those scenes. No.
Usually when something dramatic is going on, in this show, in Farscape, like when they're running along a corridor, you will see the camera tilt from side to side, going from like Dutch angle to Dutch angle. Like, that's just like a, whoa...
It's mostly to give an idea of how weird Moya is.
Yeah, but the slow-mo is kind of odd, and it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't enhance the scene at all. It's just like, this is weird. Were you under time by like a couple of minutes?
I think that was it, actually.
It's just a really odd choice, and it is actually more distracting than anything. Yeah. But anyway, Zan has made it to Pilot's Den. And Pilot
is us remind how huge Pilot is.
Yeah, Pilot is massive. But Pilot says that he's basically being locked out because Durka anticipates all his countermeasures. He knows exactly which wires to cut. And Dargo manages to meet up with Crichton. They're being locked out on the corridors. So he says, right, we'll go up a shaft then.
And I like that as he does that and he's taking the shaft to command, John calls after him, don't fall out of the ship again.
I love that. It's like, yes, continuity.
It's a nice little reference back. I'm like, yeah, please don't do that again.
Actually, like I said, unlike the previous episode, whoever wrote this, like, I mean, it shows that they actually watched the previous episodes of the series.
Yeah, they tie it into a lot of a lot of minor ways into other episodes, and they really like that.
Yeah, and so Dargo goes up a shaft, and Durka's like, I was wondering when somebody would try that, and just cuts him off and traps him in there, and his quarter blade like slides down away from him.
Yeah.
So this isn't going anywhere.
Nope.
So Crichton does actually manage to find Chiana in the cargo bay after lots of slow-mo running.
Mm-hmm.
Which is just it's really weird. Also, I mentioned Blade Runner earlier because of that's what Chiana's design looks a bit like, and it also came to mind again here when when John goes into the cargo bay, which is dark and there's lots of steam or smoke, and Chiana's apparently in the rafters with like blue light coming down through like a grating, which that shot really also reminded me of Blade Runner.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, yeah, I can see it. And so he's trying to convince her to come out, and everything's fine.
Yeah, we need your help.
Yeah.
Durka's gone all Hannibal Lecter on us. Which I didn't get. I'm like, what, how is he going Hannibal Lecter on us?
I don't know, evil psychopath. I don't know.
I mean, he hasn't seen him without the hair yet at this point, so...
Right, because when he comes back to being his normal self, he takes a knife up to his very obvious wig and starts cutting, and then we cut away and cut back, and we are presented with a much shaved Durka,
yeah,
which is the actor's actual hair.
Shaved very short.
Yeah.
Though.
By the way, to Chiana's credit, like he says, like he's gone all Hannibal Lecter on us, and she's like, I don't know what that means, but that sounds bad. I think we're doing that thing where we're cutting back and forth a lot, and so we go to see Durka with Erin and Rigel, both of whom are tied up, and he's got like some kind of implement, and it looks like a spanner, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's buzzing and hissing, and he's sort of taking it over towards Erin. And says to Rigel...
Yeah, because actually he tried to starburst Moya.
Right, yeah.
And it didn't work. And now he's like, okay, score on for the underdogs.
Turn it back on.
Or otherwise I will start killing the hostages. And they can't turn it back on because Moya is pregnant. She doesn't have the energy for both. And, well, guess what? She's not going to use the starburst.
But they don't tell him that straight away.
No, which... turns out to be a good idea.
Yeah, so basically he's going to start sort of torturing Erin with this implement, because he says to Rigel, like, what do peacekeepers really hate? Intense heat, and it's like so it's being heated up, and he's going to put it right up against Erin's face. He's coming very close to her, and then Rigel starts goading him.
Oh god, these are my favorite lines in the entire episode.
Yeah.
Also, the look on Claudia Black's Erin's face as he comes with that thing, I think this is the most terrified I've seen her.
Yeah.
In the entire series, she is legit scared.
Yeah. I mean,
like she's holding it back a bit, but it's very clearly there. Because, I mean, can you imagine if slow heat causes the living death? How excruciating, sudden, and intense heat must be?
No. Yeah, that sounds bad.
Rigel goes into the best monologue of this episode because he's like, "You're pathetic, Durka. Seriously, you're a coward. You ran from your own. You ran from a fight. You faked your own death, and you didn't even succeed at torturing me.
Yeah,
you never broke me. I just got stronger." And Durka's like, "Oh, where this is coming from? I should have said this a long time ago." And he's basically going up to him and is like, "I wanted to use you as a bargaining chip, but I wonder what your companions will say once I burn your face off." And he's like, "I don't care. Try it. See what happens. Even if you do, I'll still be laughing at you because finally I've realized Durka is a failure." And it's working marvelously on Durka.
Pushing all of his buttons.
You can clearly see in his face that he's like contemplating that Rigel's probably right.
Yeah. By the way, something I don't think we've mentioned is that in the close-ups now of Durka, like he doesn't have his eye patch anymore. No. He has the big scar down his right eye, and his right eye is like silver or like
it's a metal
kind of thing. And so, like when you get into the close-ups, like it's a very disconcerting look, but he still is able to sell that expression of just like screw you.
You're right.
Then this is when Rigel tells him that Moya is pregnant.
Yeah, you idiot. You haven't even realized Moya's pregnant.
So you're not going anywhere, and you can say hello to the Nabari when they turn up.
Let you rot for another 100 cycles. Yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. And I'm like, no, there is. There's one thing he can do.
I'm like, yeah, I don't know why you don't see this coming, Rigel. There's one thing he can do.
And he plans to.
And that's the one thing he's going to go and do.
It's going to kill Moya's baby.
Yep. Oh, no. Meanwhile, back with Chiana and Crichton in the cargo bay, Chiana goes to attack Crichton, but he manages to basically, like, flip her over.
I was going to say, you have watched some wrestling.
Can
you tell me what this was?
I believe it's some sort of sidewalk slam. I don't know. It's some kind of... It's some kind of... It is like he just, like... It did look like a wrestling move, but I can't tell you which one it is. It's just... It body slams her to the ground. And not for the first time, Crichton is, like, straddled over a woman who has attacked him and is now on the floor.
Yeah. This is becoming a pattern.
Yeah. Also, it's because she's on the floor, he's sort of holding her down. There's actually smoke or whatever it is, maybe like dry ice or something, along the or swirling around the floor, which actually makes it a much more interesting shot because it's like, oh, she's like, Chiana is like halfway out of it. Yeah.
And I also like how the lighting from the fan up top is reflected in her eyes, making it look like those are her pupils.
Well, the thing with the Nabari is that they have black irises. Like, the actors have contacts which just make their entire iris black. So they look almost cartoon, like sort of big eyes, completely black around the irises. Which is why, like, you can see the reflection in the eyes more clearly.
I like that. It was an interesting effect.
Yeah. So she says, she's not used to trusting anyone, and he's like, you should probably start trusting me.
Yeah, because you need it right now.
Yeah, and she's like, how come Durka broke the cleansing? That seems odd. Maybe I'd be better off on his side. Someone who can break the cleansing seems like a good ally to have.
John's like, I don't know. It's not my department. Ask your mental engineers.
Exactly. It's like, well, you're either with them, like with the crew of Moya, or on your own. It's like, point taken.
Okay, what's the plan?
It's like, you won't like it because I don't like it.
I like that he laughs and looks away, and she's like, oh, great, I got the guy. She says, oh, great, why do I always get the guy without the plan? Oh, no. I have a plan. You're just not going to like it because I don't like it.
And then this is actually kind of cute where he's like, what? And she's like, okay, what's the plan? And he just boops her on the nose with his face like, bait.
She's laughing as well. It's like, oh, great. Yeah, I don't like it either.
And so Durka is walking down a corridor. Basically, he's looking for Moya's baby. And at this point, he's dual wielding. He's got the whatever it is, the pulse rifle. Thank you, and pulse pistol, one in each hand. And he's just sort of walking down the corridor, pointing them around. And Chiana jumps out and is like, hey, where did you get your info on where the baby is?
From Moya?
They reconfigured the data. You're going the wrong way. Follow me. And she
was a very convincing one on this, because she's like, how much did they do to with your brain that it fried you that much? Like, if you didn't see this one coming.
And so she leads him back to the cargo bay, where John is waiting basically behind a pillar or something with basically a large metal hockey stick.
Oh, hockey stick, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's clearly like a piece of, I don't know, structural support, but it's a big metal hockey stick is what it is.
Works perfectly fine for this.
and she's like, come on, it's through here. There's a access hatch at the end, and he's like, you go in first.
It's like, okay. She goes in. Are you coming or what?
And he's like,
for some reason, I still didn't figure out why, but he sees through the trick and he shoots her.
I think it's basically he's very genre savvy at this point. It's like, this smells like a trap. You keep going. And basically, I think also because she's told him supposedly where the thing is, so he doesn't need her anymore if what she's saying is true.
Fair enough.
So, but he's kind of hedging his bets, and then she's like, no, and John comes out from behind and tries to attack him, so he just shuts the door.
Yeah, he does get a shot off, but he only grazes Chiana's shoulder.
Okay, so here's another interesting thing. He gets shot in the shoulder, or yeah, on the
upper
side.
arm,
upper arm.
One or the other.
Basically, the bullet grazes Chiana. That bullet in the original script, that was supposed to kill her.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Chiana was only supposed to be in this one episode. But when David Kemper, who's one of the people behind the show, saw how great she was, saw how great a character she was with all the performance in this episode, he's just like, okay, let's rewrite the script. Let's keep Chiana on.
Holy crap! She earned her place in this episode?
Yep, she was only supposed to be in this one episode, and they're like, actually, you know what? She's actually a really good character. Let's keep her on.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
holy crap, that's impressive, especially considering, I mean, she shows up for the next episode, so they had to rewrite a lot that was probably almost done.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm expecting her to be minor influences on the next few episodes.
I guess we'll see, but like that part where Durka shoots her was, she wasn't supposed to live through that, so well done.
I like that, because especially at the moment she's negotiating with Durka in the hallway, the way she moves is even alien.
Yeah, she's like, throughout this whole episode, like, Chiana is a great character,
yes.
And like that's already on show in this episode, so it's very easy to see why they were like, you know what, no, let's keep her on. I think we can do a lot with her.
Yeah, for anybody who's joining us for the first time watching Farscape, who hasn't seen it before, Chiani becomes a major character.
Yeah, exactly.
Of the series.
Like, people coming back and watching will know all of that. But
anybody who's hearing all this for the first time, Chiana is a major character for the rest of the series.
Oh yeah, she doesn't just stick around for a couple of episodes. No, she's there for the long haul.
Yes,
and it's going to be a lot of fun. So,
but it's really cool that she earned that she wasn't even going to be a main character until this.
Yeah, so fair play. Well done to Gigi Edgley and everyone else. Like, that was really awesome. So yeah, she didn't die from being shot. The bullet it was just a flesh wound.
Literally.
And Crichton is like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "Go get him for sake."
For all that, I'll be fine.
Yeah. And so basically he's chasing after Durka. Durka then shoots at him, manages to make it to the Nabari ship, which is inside the hangar bay still. And he's like, right, I'm just going to power up the big cannon on the Nabari ship and use that to kill the baby from the outside.
I'm like, aside from the fact that all the extra damage you're doing is not a good idea, John also points out, what do you think is going to happen after you kill the baby? That Moya's going to help you?
Yeah, remember in the Flax when we had the pirate leader guy who's like, yeah, no, we don't screw with pregnant leviathans. That's usually a bad idea. Apparently nobody told Durka. And John's like, no, you really think that Moya is going to be, okay with this? So yeah.
And luckily, the bomb-making kit from Rigel is still in the hangar bay. So John's like, I got an idea. He rocks back and just keeping Durka talking, monologuing, like, okay, keep telling me your evil plan.
You sly dog, you caught me monologuing.
Exactly. So he puts all the components in, closes it, and is like, he says to Pilot, I need the hangar bay doors control soon. Get it working fast.
Pilot kind of is still sort of locked out, so he's trying.
Yeah, and John just rolls the bomb underneath the Nabari ship, and boom.
Oh, it goes bang.
Just a beautiful bang, way bigger than what Rigel managed to pull.
Yeah, and basically that kind of forces the outer doors of Moya's hangar open. So the air is basically being sucked out. They're being exposed to vacuum now.
Yeah, and John's like, uh-oh.
It's like, could you please close the interior doors? Like, close them.
Close the goddamn doors. I also like there's a really cool shot of a DRD trying to resist the vacuum, trying not to be sucked in. It looks really cool. It really looks like he's straining against it and being sucked away.
Speaking of cool shots, when Durka goes into the ship, we see like a CG shot panning around the outside of the Nabari ship and up to the front where there's like a circular window which kind of dials
like iris.
opens like that, and then we see Durka walk into like the command seat, and it actually doesn't look too bad. It doesn't like...
No, it looks like a bit of a fisheye, but I think that makes sense for looking into a cockpit from the outside.
Yeah, and while John is basically keeping Durka talking, like he's turned the ship around so that he can stand in the front at that window and talk to, like, look at John while he's talking to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, the ship's it's blown up, the doors are open, and Pilot, like, he's trying to close the doors. They're closing, and then John gets sucked.
Yeah, and he grabs the support strut he used as a weapon to fry himself between the closing doors so he doesn't fall out. And it's like, okay, stop closing them now, stop closing them. And he's pulling in, and Pilot's like, God damn it, again, okay. And then he manages to get out. No, close them again.
He's like, no, close them, open them, close them. I can't, I don't have to.
Make up your goddamn mind.
And yeah, he manages to pull himself in off the hockey stick.
Yeah.
And gets inside. They just managed to shut the doors.
Yeah, and Durka's ship gets sucked out, and we see it falling away from Moya.
And it doesn't actually, it doesn't explode. I was expecting it to explode, but it just falls away. And I think Durka says, like...
Over the comms.
Yeah, over the comms, he's like, I will hunt you down and I'll kill you.
Like, John's like, get in line.
Yeah, so that's now
Chris says first picking on that one.
He called dibs. But now there is potentially 2 crazed peacekeeper lunatics after him.
Assuming Durka gets out of this one, because one, he needs to evade the Nabari, and he also needs to prevent himself from dying in that ship.
See, here's the thing, is that, like I said, we are both kind of rewatching this to a degree, but I don't remember everything. But Durka didn't explode. He's set up as this big, really like effective villain. I would be shocked if he doesn't turn up again.
Yeah, I hope he comes back, because I really like the actor.
Yeah, listen, if it didn't explode, or there was no body...
There's always the option.
Exactly, they're leaving themselves open.
Yeah.
And I've got a good hunch that he's going to come back, so I'm looking forward to that. But yes, everything is marginally fine.
Yes. They all lived.
Yep.
Well...
Apart from Salas.
Yeah.
Well, nobody liked him anyway.
No, that's... I think there was literally no one on board who liked him, so that's fair.
Yeah. Right, so yeah. And now everyone's kind of licking their wounds and...
Literally.
Yeah.
Because we cut to Zan treating...
Well, she's healing Chiana's wounds.
Yeah, and she's like... And Chiana's not helping along. It's like she's being a brat, as Zan puts it. And I like that as she leaves and John comes in, he asks, like, do you want to throw her out of the airlock? And Zan's like, ask me tomorrow.
I like that, yeah.
Like, I like that she's like, okay, currently I'm... Yes, but that's not a fair take right now, because I'm emotionally compromised with just having to do that. I do like she's like, okay, I'm not... give me time to think about it, basically. Yeah, which is, the sensible thing to do. Also, there's a scene just before that with Rigel and Aaron, and Rigel's asking Aaron, like, is Moya still mad at me for setting a bomb off inside of her?
And it's like, well, she's still in pain from protecting her child and all that. And it's like, you actually handled yourself well, Rigel. And he's like, yeah, I did, didn't I? I was pretty good.
I beat Durka in his own game.
He's like, yeah.
She leans in. You just compared yourself to a peacekeeper.
He's like, oh.
I think I actually like Rigel's expression on this one, because it's not clear if it's a look of disgust or a look of pride. It's somewhere between the two.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm as good as a peacekeeper, but I'm not actually a peacekeeper. Shit.
Well, it's the old he who hunts monsters kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to be careful with that. But in the scene with Chiana and John, now that Zan has sort of gone away, she's like, do I get to stay? And he's like, yeah, you can stay, And but we do have rules.
I'll start following them once I see you people do that.
And I also like what John says is that, like, hey, I'm okay with you, but the others may not be so forgiving, so you're going to have to work to... And then she's like, you know what, fine, just drop me off, like, just let me go at the next planet or whatever. And he says, well, this isn't a prison ship anymore, you can leave whenever you want.
Yeah.
And then he asks her one question: where were you when Salis died?
And she just gives him a look.
And a grin.
And that's it.
And then John walks away and her face kind of falls a bit and she's looking a bit more upset. And that's the end. End credits.
I like that we still aren't exactly sure who killed Salis.
I love that it is completely... It's
ambiguous?
Yeah, it's left ambiguous. Like, we don't know. It could very well have been Durka or Chiana.
Yeah, both never denied nor confirmed that. So I think it wasn't Chiana, but I'm not sure.
I don't know, like, because...
The timeline makes more sense if it was Chiana.
Well, here's the thing, is that if we believe that, like, if we say that after the bomb goes off is when Durka, like, reverts back to his old self.
Mm-hmm.
And it's after that that Salis gets killed.
Yes, he gets killed after the bomb.
So it's entirely possible, like, it could very well have been Durka. And, you know, he's throwing off his Nabari...
Shackles.
Shackles, yeah, that's a good way of putting
yeah.
it. So that he can, you know, take the Nabari ship, which has a big, massive weapon in it, or commandeer Moya, without having to worry about that guy. But equally, Chiana clearly has it out for him because they were going to basically mind wipe her and do all that kind of stuff, and they imprisoned her. And
he probably did a few things before that, even.
Yeah. We don't know. We
Nope.
don't know. I get the feeling it was Durka, but...
Yeah, so did I, but the timeline makes more sense if it was Chiana, because otherwise Durka had to be moving very quickly.
But yeah, we'll never know, I guess, maybe. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? But that's the episode. What do we think of that one?
I liked it, actually. It's a really good episode.
Like, a couple of odd things, like the weird slow-mo aside. It was actually, that was odd, but yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it quite a lot, and of course, because we get to meet Chiana for the first time, and like straight away, Chiana is a great character.
Yeah, I'm very happy she's on board, and she's going to add a lot of unpredictability to the crew, which I like.
Yeah, she's kind of like, I guess in some ways, she's like the opposite to... Well, she's like a counterpart to Zan, in the...
Yeah.
Zan is actually... The whole thing, like, when they have, like, unity and all that stuff, and Zan is actually... and she, you know, has no problems with being nude and all that stuff. She's actually Zan is much more sensual, right? But she's more reserved about it. So
yeah,
Chiana's kind of the flip side of that, where she's like much more outgoing and overt about all that stuff, and much more of a wild spirit.
I feel that Zan controls her emotions a lot more, whereas Chiana lets them run wild.
Yeah, lets them control her.
I feel that's the biggest difference between the two.
Yeah, and that's why I say like they're like kind of like, I guess opposites to an extent. Yeah, which is going to be really good interesting to see that.
Because I think they, even though they haven't realized it yet, they have a lot more in common.
Yep.
In other ways.
So yeah, this is going to be it. We're assembling the crew, the familiar crew, to people going back to watching this again. Yeah.
So I think I'm just going to give this a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, same.
Not enough to give it a 5. There's still some things I'm like,
I think
there's nothing that stood out to me that really grabbed me for this episode.
Yeah, I think it really starts to come together and gets into a much higher gear once Durka turns back to his old self.
Yeah. Everything before that is set up.
Everything, it's set up, and it's kind of very straightforward and plainly shot, and not bad, but not necessarily that interesting.
Uses a few tropes but
uses them pretty well.
A few tropes that doesn't do anything particularly new with, but that's fine.
But then
sometimes they're good. Sometimes a trope done good, Jeremiah Crichton, is just fine.
Yeah. But then once Durka turns back to his old self and Chiana escapes, then we can really start to have some fun with it. And, if the whole episode had been like that, maybe we'd be bumping it up to a 5. But, as it stands, I would agree with a 4 out of 5. So there we go. We're back on form. Yes, Jeremiah Crichton was just a momentary blip, and everything is fine.
Yeah, it's just one data point.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
What does Farscape World say?
They also say review score is 4 out of 5, and the average reader score is 4.5. So
okay. Well, fair.
In the same kind of ballpark.
I mean, probably Chiana helped that number along.
Listen, like we said, she's a great character, and she earned her place in the rest of the series because she was originally supposed to be dead at the end of the episode, which would have been a great shame because I know that they do so much more with that character, and it's going to be really great. So
I can't wait.
Yeah, me neither. And but that'll be it from us this week. And next up, what do we have next? Episode 16.
Human reaction.
Oh yeah.
I think I remember this one. I think I've actually seen this one before.
Oh, okay, cool.
This is going to be interesting because this is a very interesting episode.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we don't really care too much about it. I can give you the brief summary. I mean, the super brief summary is Crichton receives an unfriendly welcome, but that doesn't really... I mean, that describes most episodes so far.
Go for the full one.
Yeah, let's do it because whatever. It's whatever. Returning to Earth through a wormhole, Crichton receives an unfriendly welcome, but is reunited with his father. And Eren Daga and Rigel turn up to rescue him, but get less than humane treatment. So, okay,
yeah.
This is going to be interesting. This is going to be weird.
This is an interesting episode. I know which one this is, and it's really interesting.
All right, so we have that to look forward to next week, and that'll be at the same time, same place as usual. And until then, if you want to find more about us, you can find us both on Twitter. I'm at Can't Wear Hats, and Red is at Verdolkin in Tree.
Yes.
And if you want to watch previous episodes of this, you can check out youtube.com/can'twearhats. And this is all brought to you by the Can't Wear Hats Patreon, by supporters and listeners like you.
Woo!
By your generous support, that is patreon.com/can'twearhats, which supports this and live streams and other projects. There we go, that's all that out the way. And so we'll see you next week, and until then, goodbye for now. Goodbye.
Bye.
Oh god, I just can't think of a stinger for this week.
I'm racking my brain, but I have nothing.
Oh no. Have we been mentally cleansed of the ability to make stingers?
Ah, crap.
Damn you, Nabari!